The sword stood in silence. It was large and sharp, with a black and silver blade that never rusted. It sat deep inside a block of stone, right in the center of the ruined city of Veruin. For hundreds of years, aliens from many planets came to try their strength. Some prayed, some used machines. Some even tried to sing to the sword, but no one could lift it. Not even a little. Legends said it was left by the first builders, a race so old their cities had turned to dust. The sword had not moved since then. Many believed it was just a symbol. Others said it would only move for someone worthy. When the human ship drifter landed nearby, the people of Veruin barely looked. They had seen humans before. They were small, thin, and soft. Not strong like the warriors of Zarak, or wise like the elders of Varn. Certainly not the kind who could lift a blade that had defied the strongest in the galaxy. The leader of the human team was a quiet man named Tomil. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist. He worked with machines. He liked fixing broken things, especially old ones. Tomil and his team had come to Veruin to repair a damaged energy line that powered nearby trade posts. The sword wasn't part of their mission. Tomil had brown skin, short hair, and soft eyes that noticed details others missed. He didn't talk much, but he listened. While the others set up their tools and cables, Tomil watched the ruined city. Something about it called to him, not with fear, not with awe, but with a kind of puzzle waiting to be solved. One evening, after a long day of work, Tomil sat by the fire with a local alien guide named Rith. Rith was a feathered creature from the Yenu species. He had bright yellow eyes and a sharp voice, always filled with stories. "Do your kind believe in legend?" Rith asked as he turned a stick in the flames. Tomil looked up. "Some of us do." Oh. Rith pointed to the distance where the sword stood, like a shadow under the moonlight. That blade, Vareshk, the sword of the first builders. Not even the warlords of Kuna could lift it. They say only one who sees truly can move it. Sees what? Tomil asked. No one knows, Rith said, but the sword chooses. It is not about strength. That much we believe. Tomil smiled. Maybe it's just stuck. Rith chuckled. Oh. Many have said that too. Later that night, when the others had gone to sleep, Tomil walked alone toward the ruins. His boots crunched softly on the dry stone path. The stars above were cold and bright. The air smelled like old metal and dust. The monument around the sword was cracked and broken, but still beautiful. It had lines and shapes that reminded Tomil of circuits, not art. He looked at the sword, then at the stone it was buried in. Knelt down and touched the base. It wasn't just a rock. It had patterns old and faded, but still clear to someone who looked closely. Symbols, tiny lines. Some were glowing faintly. "It's a machine," Tomil whispered. "Not just a sword." He stood up and circled it slowly. He wasn't thinking about lifting it. He was thinking about how it worked. Why it had never moved. Why it was here at all. He reached out and touched the hilt. It felt warm, not hot, not cold. Like something alive, but sleeping. Nothing happened. He didn't pull. He didn't press. He just watched. Then, after a few minutes, he walked away. The next day word had already spread. A human touched the sword. He tried to lift it. No, he only stared at it. The locals laughed. Some were angry. A few were curious. But Tomil said nothing. He went back to work. That evening, Rith found him again. "You touched the sword." "Why?" Tomil thought for a moment. "Because I think it's not a sword." Rith blinked. "What else could it be?" "I think it's a key," Tomil said. "To something older, something hidden." Rith looked serious now. "If you believe that, you may be closer to the truth than any of us." The next night, Tomil went back. Not in secret this time. Rith came with him. Others followed, curious, watching. Tomil stood before the sword. He placed one hand on the base again. This time, he pressed a spot between two old lines. A soft hum came from deep below. The ground vibrated just a little. Gasps came from behind him. Tomil didn't try to pull the sword. Instead, He looked at the runes again. He touched them gently, like puzzle pieces. One lit up under his finger. Then another. The stone holding the sword shifted. Slightly the sword moved. Just an inch, but it moved. The crowd behind him went silent. Eyes wide, hearts pounding, 2 Mil looked at the blade. Its edge now glowed, faint blue. A soft line of energy ran up its side. He stepped back. He didn't lift it. He didn't need to. He'd already done what no one else could. The sword had responded. Not to power, not to pride, but to understanding. The news spread quickly. By the next morning, everyone in the nearby settlements had heard it. The human made the sword move. It glowed under his hand. The first builders have chosen a soft one? Tomel didn't like the attention. He wasn't used to it. Back on Earth, he had worked in quiet corners, fixing power systems and broken drones. Didn't lift weapons. He didn't lead people. He just solved problems. Now, aliens from many races followed him with wide eyes. Some were hopeful. Some were doubtful. Some looked at him like he was dangerous. But Tomil ignored them all. He didn't believe in being special. He only believed in what he saw. That day, he returned to the ruins with Rith. The guide walked beside him, quiet and thoughtful. Feathers on Rith's head shifted in the wind. The city around them looked the same as always. Broken, old, forgotten. But something had changed. It has been centuries, Rith said at last. Not one being, not even the strongest, has moved Vareshk. What did you do? I just looked at it like a machine, Tomel said. The lines, the base, the patterns. I think it's not only a sword. I think it's technology. A kind of control system. Duh. Rith tilted his head. It was never meant to be lifted by force. Maybe not, Tamil said. Maybe the sword is waiting for someone to understand it. Not to fight with it, but to use it. Differently, they reached the sword again. A few curious aliens stood at a distance, watching. The blade still glowed faintly where Tamil had touched it. The base hummed with low energy, barely heard, but felt. Rith stepped forward and ran a hand along the stone. My people believe this sword holds the spirit of the first builders. They say it waits for the one who carries no crown and no war. In his heart, Tamil raised an eyebrow. I don't carry either. Exactly, Rith said. Tomel knelt near the base again. He traced his fingers over the small symbols. They were like buttons each, one different in shape and size. Some were cold, others were slightly warm. He pressed one. The blade shimmered. For a second, then another symbol lit up. It felt like a code, like an old system waking up step by step. He wasn't opening a door. He was unlocking a forgotten language. Why do you care so much? Rith asked. You could walk away now? You've done more than any before you? Tomel didn't answer right away. He looked up at the sky, then back at the sword. I've always liked fixing things, he said, but this is more than just a machine. I feel like it's broken and waiting for someone to notice. Rith nodded slowly. Maybe that's why it moved for you. They returned to camp that evening. The alien scientists wanted to test Tomel's brain. Some wanted to scan his hands. Others whispered about sending word to the Galactic Union. But Tomil stayed with his small team. He didn't want fame or power. He wanted answers. That night, as he sat by the fire again, Rith told him more. Long ago, before even my kind had wings, the first builders created cities between stars. They made tools that could heal planets, stop storms, even move moons. But then they vanished. No one knows how. No signs of war. There's no graveyards, only ruins. Tomil listened carefully. And the sword? Rith's eyes glowed in the firelight. It was said to be their final creation. A key to their strongest vault. It's a place of knowledge and power. The legend says the vault will open only when the sword is lifted by the right one. Not the strongest, not the bravest. The right one. Tamil leaned back. The fire crackled. So, it's not about fighting. It's about understanding. Rith nodded. And now the question is, what happens if you lift it fully? The next day, Tamil returned to the sword with a new idea. He brought a small tool from his bag of scanner. He used to study old wiring, placed it near the base of the sword. The scanner blinked. Strange readings danced across the screen, not just metal, not just stone. There was energy flowing deep under the monument. Some kind of network, sleeping. Below the city, Tamil stood up. His heart was beating faster now. He placed both hands on the sword's hilt. This time, not to pull, but to listen. The sword vibrated gently. Not like it was resisting, but like it was. Ready, he pressed one of the symbols again, and another. The sword clicked. The stone around it shifted slightly then, for the second time in history. The sword moved just a little more. The ground trembled. A low sound, like a deep breath from underground, echoed through the city. Tamil stepped back, breathing hard. The sword glowed brighter now. Its light reached across the plaza, touching old walls and broken statues. Faint patterns lit up all. Around the ancient city was waking up. Aliens nearby ran forward, some in fear, some in excitement. Rith stood beside Tomil, his feathers standing on end. "You've started something," he whispered. Tomil nodded. "I think I've only just begun." The ancient city of Varuan had been silent for centuries. Now it was whispering. Small lights flickered across the walls. The air felt warmer, alive. The sword Varushk stood taller than ever, its blade glowing like soft fire under the alien sky, and in front of it stood Tomil, the human who had moved it twice. More people gathered each day. Aliens from far away traveled to see the sword. They came in ships, on foot, even through teleport gates. Some wanted answers, others came with questions of their own. A few still laughed. "A human," they said. "It's just luck." He won't lift it. But Tomil wasn't trying to impress them. He didn't care about the crowd. He was thinking about the old symbols on the stone, the soft hum beneath his boots, strange light in the blade. He was thinking like an engineer. That morning, he brought new tools. A small hand scanner, a translator patch, datapad filled with notes. Rith walked beside him, silent and serious. The feathered alien had become his friend and guide, and now his only true supporter. "Be careful today," Rith said. "Some of the others, they don't like this. They say the sword should remain untouched." Tamil gave a small nod. "If I'm wrong, it'll stay right where it is." He approached the monument again. The sword still stood in its stone base, but now the symbols at its foot were glowing. Brighter, the runes were becoming clear, as if they wanted to be read. He placed his hand on the same control. Clicked as before. Clicked. The sword's glow pulsed once. He pressed another point. A second click. Then a low sound came from beneath the earth, a soft rumble like great machines stirring in the deep. Now Tomil placed both hands on the sword's handle. This time, he didn't just touch it. He pulled at first. Nothing happened. The crowd held their breath. Then, slowly, the sword began to rise. Just a few inches. But clearly, completely, gasps filled the air. A child screamed. A bird-like alien dropped its recorder in shock. The sword, after centuries, was being lifted. Tomil felt a vibration through his hands. Not painful, not heavy. It was like holding a beam of solid energy, controlled, steady, powerful. He didn't lift it high, just a little. Then he stopped. He placed it back into the stone. It slid in like a perfect fit. He turned to the crowd. "I didn't lift it for power," he said. "This sword is part of something bigger, a system it talks through. Energy, through code, not words. I think it was never meant for battle," the crowd murmured. Others stayed silent. Then the ground shook. The quake wasn't strong, but it was enough to scare the birds. The sky dimmed slightly. All across the ruins, small lights blinked on, not just near the sword, but in doorways, towers, and broken walls. Tomeo looked at Rith. "I think we've activated something," he said. Rith's feathers stood on end. Something old and alive. Suddenly, a sound filled the air. Not a voice, not a song, but a signal, clear, rhythmic pulses. It came from the monument, from the stone beneath the sword. Tomil tapped his scanner. The pulses were date on. Ancient code being sent out in waves. What's it saying? Rith asked. Tamil stared at the screen. It's asking a question. What kind of question? Tomel looked up, eyes wide. It's asking who we are. The monument flashed once. A beam of light shot into the sky. Everyone ducked. The beam was harmless, but huge like a signal flare sent into space. Tomel's datapad blinked rapidly. This thing just contacted. Something up there? A satellite? A ship? Or maybe something deeper. The aliens began to shout. Others backed away. Then the worst thing happened. A low alarm started ringing. Old machines buried in the ruins came alive. Stone blocks opened like flower petals, revealing strange flying orbs. They floated up, glowing red. He scanned everything. Around them, one of them locked onto Tomel. It thinks I'm a threat, he said quickly. The orb moved toward him. Tomil raised his hands. But the sword pulsed again. A wave of energy moved through the air. The orb stopped. It hovered for a moment, then it backed off. The crowd fell into silence again. Rith spoke first. The sword is protecting you.
Tomil
let out a long breath. It recognized me. Or it recognized what I did. One of the alien leaders, a tall, silver-skinned being named Maru, stepped forward. He didn't look pleased. You are not trained, Maru said. You are not chosen. You are guessing your way through technology older than time. This could bring danger. Tamil nodded. Maybe, but it's already waking up. I didn't force it. I just listened. Maru narrowed his eyes. Then we must decide what to do next. That night, Tomil sat with Rith near the fire again. Stars above twinkled quietly as if nothing strange had happened. But Tamil knew better. We only scratched the surface, he said. There's something bigger beneath those ruins. Rith nodded. Vault, a secret chamber. Maybe even a ship. But it's not just about machines. Tamil looked at the sword in the distance. Even from far away, its blue light still shined. It's asking for something, Tamil said. Not strength, not skill, but understanding. That's what it wants. Smiled slowly. Then maybe you are the one the first builders were waiting for. Tomil didn't answer. He simply stared at the glowing sword, his mind already working on the next step. He hadn't just moved the sword. It started a chain. Reaction, and whatever came next. The ancient city would never be silent again. The sky was calm when the sun rose over Varun, but the air felt different. It was heavier, filled with tension. Light still glowed from the sword's base, spreading in soft patterns through the stone ruins. The ancient city had truly awakened, Tamil. Stood on a high step, near the monument, looking out. The sword Vareshk stood quietly, as if it were waiting again. But Tomil could feel something had changed. The power inside it was not only active, it was watching. Rith joined him, wings folded. Close to his body, his feathers, usually calm and smooth, were puffed with worry. There are strange signals in the air, Rith said. The machine's underground. They are sending warnings. Tomil nodded slowly. He'd picked up similar data on his scanner. The energy was building beneath the surface, spreading across the old network. It was like a web waking up after sleeping for thousands of years. What is it warning about? Tomil asked. Before Rith could answer, a loud hum filled the air. BZZZ, MMM. Then the ground shook. Everyone nearby, scientists, workers, travelers, turned. To look at the sword, a large crack opened in the stone beside the monument. From the crack, drones rose round, metal machines with glowing centers. Their long arms opened like wings, and they hovered in place, silent and still, until they saw the crowd. Without warning, the drone's eyes turned red. They think we're intruders, shouted someone. The panic started quickly. People ran. Some screamed, others tried to hide behind broken walls. The drones began scanning everyone, sending beams of light over the crowd. When one of the alien workers pulled out a tool that looked like a weapon, a drone zapped it from his hand. It wasn't a strong attack, but it was enough to frighten everyone. Rith grabbed Tommel's arm. The city is protecting itself. It doesn't. No, we're not enemies. Tamil's mind raced. He looked back at the sword. Maybe the sword can stop it. Without waiting, he ran toward it. One of the drones noticed and turned toward him, blinking red. It flew forward fast. Rith shouted, "Tomil, stop." But Tomil didn't stop. He ran straight to the base of the sword and placed his hand on the stone. A wave of light burst from the monument womb, and the drone froze midair. Its red eye turned blue, then faded to white. It hovered quietly, then returned to its place near the crack. All the other drones stopped too. The ruins were silent again. People peeked out from behind walls, confused and afraid. Tamil turned around slowly. "They respond to the sword," he said. "Not to weapons, not to leaders, just to the one the system accepts." Maru, the silver-skinned alien leader from the day before, stepped forward. He looked shaken, but still proud. "You have control now," he said. "That means responsibility." But nodded. "I didn't ask for it, but I'll carry it. At least until we understand what this place really is." Later that evening, Tamil and Rith studied the data from the sword's base. They had set up a small camp inside one of the old halls where the lights were working again. The walls glowed with slow-moving patterns like stars flowing in a river. "There's a map here," Tomil said. "Beneath the city. A vault. Sealed chambers.
Fact.
And something marked with a bright symbol. It looks like a heart." Rith leaned in. "The core?" "That's what I think too," Tamil said. "It's deep underground. Everything else in the system points to it. I believe that's what the sword is really guarding." Suddenly a loud sound echoed in the distance. Boom. Dust fell from the ceiling. The walls flickered. Rith stood quickly. That came from above ground. Tamil ran outside. The sky had changed. It was no longer clear. A dark shape was growing in the sky, slowly blocking the light from the twin moons. Tomil stared, his heart pounding. "That's not a storm," he said. Rith whispered, "It's not from this world." The shape was massive, larger than a city, silent and black. It moved like a shadow but gave off no sound, no normal energy signals. Ships from the station nearby were already trying to scan it. Their signals bounced off like water from stone. The crowd gathered again. This time no one laughed. No one spoke. Tomil checked his datapad. It was receiving something barely readable. Strange repeating pattern from the sword system. He showed it to Rith. "It's the same signal we sent into the sky when I lifted the sword," Tomil said. "And now something has come in answer." Rith stared at the dark shape in the sky. "You didn't just wake the city," he said. "You called something very old." Tomil took a deep breath. "Then we need to find the core. Fast." "But how?" Rith asked. "We don't even know the way down." Tomil looked at the sword one more time. Its glow was still steady, calm, strong. He placed his hand on the hilt again and said softly, "Show me." The runes at the base changed. One by one, they formed into a clear path-a-line of glowing symbols leading toward the largest structure in the ruins, an old tower, half buried in stone. Tomil turned to Rith. "That's our way in." And without waiting for permission, guards, or approval, he followed the path into the heart of the ancient city. The glowing path led Tamil and Rith through broken streets and tall ruins. The strange shape in the sky still floated above the planet, large and silent like a shadow that didn't move. Everyone could feel it. Even the wind had gone still. Tamil didn't speak. His eyes followed the line of symbols glowing on the ground runes from the sword, leading straight to the old tower. The entrance to the tower was wide and dark. The walls were made of smooth stone mixed with strange metal. As they stepped inside, lights slowly turned on around them, one by one, as if the tower recognized them. "It knows we're here," Rith said, looking around nervously. Tamil nodded, "and it's letting us in." They reached a wide door deep. Inside, it was covered in more symbols. In the center was a square-shaped slot. Tomil pulled the sword Vareshk from its place on his back. As soon as he brought it close, the slot lit up without speaking. Tamil placed the sword inside, Click, the door opened with a loud, deep sound. Behind it was a lift round and wide enough for 10 people. It was already glowing with soft blue light. Tamil stepped on. Rith hesitated, then followed. The lift began to descend. It moved slowly at first, then faster. Walls of glowing stone rushed past them. Machines were sleeping all around, some small, all ancient. Tamil stared downward. We're going very deep. Rith looked at his scanner. We're not even halfway yet. Suddenly the lift slowed, then stopped. The doors opened to a wide hallway. The floor was made of black glass, and soft lights floated in the air like stars. The air was still, but not cold. It felt, waiting. Tamil took a step forward. As soon as his foot touched the floor, lights came on across the hallway. Symbols began appearing on the walls. A voice echoed in the air. It wasn't in any known language, but Tomiel could understand it, not with his ears, but with his mind. Trial begins. 3 gates. 1 truth. 1 heart. Step forward. Tomiel looked at Rith. It's testing me. Are you sure it's safe? Rith asked. No, Tomiel said. But we didn't come here to be safe. He walked forward. The hallway opened into a round chamber. 3 doors appeared, each with a different symbol above them. The first had a picture of a hand. The second had the image of an eye. The third showed a heart. Tomiel stood still. He looked at each door. Then he remembered what the sword had taught him. Not power, not pride, understanding. He chose the door with the heart. It opened silently. Inside was a room filled with mirrors, but they didn't show his reflection. Each mirror showed a moment from his lifetimes when he failed, times when he gave up, times when he was afraid. Tomiel stepped slowly between them. He saw his younger self crying in a broken ship, saw the time he made a mistake and someone else got hurt, he saw his moments of weakness. The voice returned. To lift the sword is to carry the truth. Do you accept your past? Tamil swallowed hard. Yes. The mirrors faded. A soft light opened in the floor, revealing a stairway leading even deeper. Rith followed close behind. You passed. Tomiel said. I just accepted. They went down the stairs and entered another room. This one was dark. A single screen lit up in the center. A puzzle formed on it, a set of strange blocks and lines. It was a design system, old but complex. Tamil smiled a little. This is more my style. He sat down and began to solve the puzzle. He worked. Fast but carefully. The blocks weren't just shapes, they were pieces of energy. If placed wrong, they would overload. He made one mistake. The room flashed red. He took a breath, studied the patterns again, and tried a new way. Click, the puzzle was solved. The screen disappeared. A voice whispered again. Second gate complete. You see not with eyes, but with thought. Oh. A doorway opened. Inside was a glowing platform. Rith pointed. That must lead to the core. Tamil stepped forward, but the floor shook beneath them. The tower was responding again. The power was rising. Rith looked at the scanner. Something's coming. From the sky, Tamil turned toward the platform. Then we don't have much time. He stepped on the platform. It lifted him gently, like floating on air. It carried him through a tunnel made of light. Symbols danced around him. The voice spoke once more. Final gate. Open your heart. Then, silence. The platform stopped. 2 mil stood inside a large chamber. The center was a sphere floating above the ground, filled with light and spinning symbols. Around it were tall pillars, each marked with a symbol he had seen before. The sword floated to the center on its own, leaving his back. It entered the sphere. The light grew brighter. Then the voice became clear. You have opened the path. The core is now yours to guide. Speak your purpose. Tomel looked at the sphere. He thought of Earth, of the people above ground, of the silent ship in the sky, the fear and the hope. I want to protect, he said. Not just my world, all worlds. The sphere glowed gold. Symbols flew around faster. Then, a final line echoed through the chamber. Heart, Accepted. Access granted. The tower trembled. The lights above burst upward into the sky.
Power.
Flowed through the ground like fire. Ancient system had awakened fully. Tomil fell to his knees. Overwhelmed by light, above ground, the people of Veruin saw the energy rise from the ruins like a pillar of hope. The sword had chosen. The core had opened, and in the dark sky above, the silent ship finally picked. The sky above Veruin was no longer blue. The silent shape in orbit, huge and dark, had started to shift. No engines, no lights. It moved like a shadow sliding across the stars. People watched from the hills and towers, afraid to speak. Ships that had once filled the air with sound now hovered in place. Everyone waited. For what? They didn't know. In the middle of the city ruins, light still poured from the tower. It rose from the ground like a beacon, reaching up to the sky. That light came from the core, the ancient system Tomil had awakened, far below. In the heart of the tower, Tomil stood near the glowing sphere. The sword Vareshk floated beside him, now completely joined with the core's light. It pulsed gently, alive but calm. Rith stood nearby, his feathers flat against his skin. He looked tired, but his eyes were wide with wonder. "You did it?" he said. "The core is open. The system is alive again." Tomil didn't answer right away. His eyes were fixed on the data flowing around them, symbols, shapes, energy patterns. The sword was feeding him information. He could feel it in his mind like a soft voice, not speaking with words but with meaning. He finally spoke. "Structure in the sky? It's not a ship. It's a collector." Rith tilted his head. "What does that mean?" Tomil turned to him. "It moves from planet to planet. It drains power. Life. Thought. Anything it touches becomes empty." "Empty?" Rith asked. Tomil nodded. "It doesn't attack, just takes. Slowly, silently, and then it leaves." Rith looked disturbed. "That's what happened to the first builders." "Yes," Tomil said. "This system, this vault, the sword, the corret, was their defense. But they activated it too late. The collector had already taken too much. So they built all this to protect others." "Yes." "And they left it behind, waiting for someone who could understand it." Tomil looked back at the glowing orb. It now showed a full view of the sky. The dark object was larger than ever. Symbols blinked beside it, warnings. It had started to reach down toward the planet. "We have to use the core now," Tomil said. Rith frowned. "Do you know how?" "Think so," Tomil said. "It's not a weapon. It's more like a signal, a message, with strength. It tells the collector, this world is protected." He stepped forward and touched the core with both hands at once. The room brightened. The sword glowed stronger. The light ran through the walls, into the floor, up the tower. Energy moved across the whole city like water through a river. Above, the beam and the sky changed. It turned from white to gold. Every alien across Veruin saw it. Ships lit up. Systems came online. Old machines that had sat quiet for centuries hummed with power. It was like the city itself was rising. The collector in the sky stopped moving in the control chamber. The core spoke to Tomil not with sound, but through thought. "Warning sent. Stand by." Tomil stepped back. "It knows we're ready." Rith's eyes widened. "Do you think it will go away?" Tomil looked at the sky. "Hope so." For a few minutes nothing happened. Then the sky began to shift. The dark shape turned. It began to move not down, but away. It backed out of orbit, turning slowly. It didn't fire a weapon, didn't speak. It simply left. On the surface, people began to cheer. Flags were raised. Drones sent signals of peace. The sky cleared. Varun was safe. Tomil sat on the floor, breathing hard. He felt lightheaded, but peaceful. Rith sat beside him. "You did it." "No," Tomil said. "We did it. The sword, the system, the builders, you, everyone who believed."
What?
Rith looked around the glowing chamber. "So what happens now?" Stood and looked at the core one last time. The sword floated back into his hands, now quiet again. "We keep it safe," he said. "We don't forget it, we learn from it." They rode the platform back to the surface. When they stepped outside, the sky was blue again. The stars had returned, and in the distance, a small child was pretending to lift a stick like a sword. Tomil smiled. He walked back to the monument and placed Voreshk back in its slot. It slid in smoothly, like it had never left. The base glowed softly, then faded to calm. Blue Rith touched Tomil's shoulder. "Are you sure you want to leave it?" Tomil nodded. "It belongs here. It always has. I just borrowed it for a while." Aliens from many races gathered around them. Some bowed, some clapped, some just watched, silent with respect. Maru, the silver-skinned leader, stepped forward. He spoke in a clear voice. This human came not with weapons or pride, but with eyes that saw and hands that healed. The sword chose him, and through him, the first builders speak again. Tomil didn't want a speech, but he nodded politely then. He looked at the sword one last time. It didn't want to be lifted, he said. It wanted to be understood. The sun rose gently over the peaceful city of Varun. After the long night of fear and uncertainty, the air felt calm again. Birds sang softly in the trees, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers. Tomil stood quietly by the monument where the ancient sword Voreshk rested once more. The sword's soft blue glow was a reminder of what had happened, a story that would be told for generations. Rith approached, his feathers shining in the morning light. He smiled warmly. "It's hard to believe it's finally over." Tomil nodded. "I never imagined something so old could still hold so much power. But the power wasn't in the sword itself. It was in what it asked of us." Rith's eyes grew thoughtful. To understand, to protect, to carry the past without fear. "Yes," Tomil said, "we all carry something. The sword chose me, but the strength came from all of us. From the builders, from you, and from every person who never gave up hope." The city around them was waking up. Aliens of many kinds walked through the streets, some still curious, some still cautious, but all changed by what had happened. The ruins that had seemed lifeless now glowed softly with energy. The machines in the ground hummed gently, no longer silent, but peaceful, as if they were finally at rest. Maru, the silver-skinned leader, approached Tomil and Rith. His face was serious, but kind. "The core is open," he said, "and the city's heart beats once more. We will protect this place, and we will learn from it." Tomil smiled, and the sword. Maru looked at the monument. "The sword remains here, but its true strength is in those who understand it. It is a symbol, not a weapon." Tomil turned and looked out over the city. "I want to help with that, to make sure no one forgets what we've learned." Rith placed a hand on Tomil's shoulder. "And you are no longer just a visitor. You are part of Varun now." Tomil felt warmth in his chest. For the first time since arriving, he felt at home. Far above, the dark shape that had hovered like a threat was gone. The stars shone clearly again. The twin moons moved slowly across. The sky, peaceful and bright, the people below began to rebuild. New buildings rose beside the old ruins, and the ancient city was no longer just a memory, but a place of life. Tomil watched as children played near the monument. One little boy picked up a stick and held it like a sword, pretending to be a hero. Tomil smiled quietly. That maybe someday they'll understand the sword's true lesson, that strength is not in fighting, but in knowing when to stand for what is right. Rith looked up at the sky and said softly, "The builders left us a gift, but they also left a warning." Tomil nodded. "Yes, we must never forget that darkness can return. But as long as we remember, we can face it." They stood together, watching the sun climb higher, bringing light to a new day. The ancient city had been awakened. Not by force, but by a human who chose to understand, to listen, and to protect. And with that choice, a new future began.